Good afternoon. I am Constable Brooks with Berry Police. I am our crime prevention officer, and I am really looking forward to welcoming Sonia Anderson, who is one of our block captains for Neighborhood Watch. And welcome, Sonia.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes, I'm excited that we get to have this amazing partnership, and I can't wait to discuss with you a couple things to give our community some insight as to how the program runs and what you have to do to run the program, that sort of thing. So you are a huge part of the program, a huge asset, and I can't thank you enough for your commitment to our community, and the program.
Well, thank you.
I think you've been leading this for 12 years?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And it just started out really small and then grew organically from there. And we have about 138 homes now in my group.
That is incredible. How do you feel that having a neighborhood watch is pertinent to crime prevention?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that when you have a neighborhood watch program, you're looking out for one another as a community and you're more invested in your community. And so you start to notice things, and that in of itself is probably the biggest and most important part about neighborhood watch, is just being invested in your community. Because I think nowadays people spend too much time home, and COVID doesn't help with that. But I mean, in general, we spend a lot of time doing things within ourselves, and we don't spend as much time doing things with our neighbors and as a community. But when you're invested in your community, you watch out for its safety. And so you start to notice things that don't look quite right.
I think that's really important, being aware of your surroundings. I know personally, if I see my neighbor's garage door open or their car light on, I knock on their door and I say, hey, did you notice this or notice that?
Absolutely. And you know what? It kind of almost needs to start even before that point, because you won't necessarily feel comfortable going up to your neighbor if they feel like they're a stranger to you. So try to even get to know your neighbors before things come up.
So that's a really good point you brought up. So I made up some cards that say, do you know your neighbors? And these cards have a space for, I believe I made space for 6 people to write your neighbor's name, their phone number, if you want to share it, so that you can say, someone was in your backyard yesterday. Hello, Sonia, someone was in your backyard yesterday. And you could say, oh, wow, really? There shouldn't have been. Those are really important in engaging your neighbors.
Yeah, and it can start even with something as innocent as when new people move on to your street. One of the things that I often like to do is just go over when they've been there for a day or two with, a plate of cookies or something, just to say welcome to the neighborhood. And on our street, we had a lot of turnover over the years. So even though we may only have 40 people on our street, if 10 or 20 of those people have left over time, there's a lot of gaps there. So just as people move in, move out, it's kind of a nice opportunity for you to get to know those new people.
And a nice way to get some treats.
Yeah.
Sonia, one great asset that you bring to your Neighborhood Watch program is you provide a monthly newsletter that is honestly fantastic. Can you share some of the tips that you include in your monthly newsletter?
Yeah. So again, one of the most important is get to know your neighbors and even try to develop a bit of a buddy system with them. So around a time when people might be going away on vacation, whether it's a summer holiday or over Christmas or March break, if you know that you're going to be going away, it's a good idea to have a buddy neighbor that you'll watch out for each other. So whether it's bringing in newspapers or cutting their grass for them, or doing their driveway when they're gone, just so that that house will have a lived-in look. So that's one of the big things. A couple other tips that I really like to share with people. One of the biggest things that usually comes up in a neighborhood, and it may seem really small and innocent, but thefts from vehicles. So quite often, it's not the big, and I don't want to say exciting, but the big dramatic things that happen in a neighborhood that contribute to crime. But it's things like keeping your vehicle locked That's a biggie. And I can't tell you how many times people have had their homes broken into because they left their car door open and there's that garage door remote, and then they didn't lock the inside garage door. So that's a quick, easy access into your home. As well, if you leave things lying around in your car, like petty change or receipts or things like that, that's an open invitation. And then often people don't think thefts from vehicle are a crime, or often they'll feel embarrassed about it and do nothing about it. So one tip I always tell people is that no matter how small it may seem, report it. And the Barrie Police website has a great tool on there where you can really easily go online and report something. So it's something that, for instance, it's not an emergency. Not somebody's breaking into my house right now, I need to phone the police, but it's somebody rifled through my car last night and I think they stole some change or whatever. Definitely report that, because the more incidents that police are aware of in a community means that they'll be a little more vigilant, maybe do some more drive-bys in your community and look out, during those prime times when people might be doing that. Go ahead, sorry.
I love that you shared that. That is one of my loves about this online reporting. I was working it during COVID and I saw the amount of vehicles that were entered, and I encouraged the public as a crime prevention officer to, one, report it, please. We want to have it reported, and two, to please lock your door. That is a crime of opportunity. It's so simple. And unfortunately, COVID has made desperate times, and having that open package or that purse or that wallet opens you up for identity theft, a victim of lost or stolen property. And it's unfortunate, but it can be prevented.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd say that another big thing that I tell people in my newsletters is pay attention to your spidey senses. I like to tell everybody that you're the eyes and ears of the neighborhood. And if you see something that doesn't look right, it probably isn't. So as an example of that, one of my neighborhood watch members was walking down the street and he saw some people congregating around the front entryway of the home, and he knows the people that live in that house. And he said, well, number one, it was the middle of the day and he knows that they were both at work. So it seemed odd that these people were congregating at that front door during that time. And number two, just a broad daylight, just things didn't feel right. And as he's watching, they started breaking in the door. So he was right there on the phone. The police attended, chased them, ended up catching them. So
Great.
You know when something doesn't look quite right. And a lot of times crimes happen during the daytime. In fact, most crimes from a home or thefts will occur during the daytime when people are away at work. So if you've got neighbors that are either working from home, or they're stay-at-home parents, or they're seniors that are around the house a little more, they're a great contact to let them know a little bit more about your schedule and what your habits are, and so that they get to know you and know what doesn't look right about your home.
Thank you so much for your safety tips. Those are incredible. And that leads me into my last question for you. So you've got a neighborhood watch program in your area, and some people might be nervous to start one up because they're worried about what it entails as far as time, commitment, and money. Can you speak on some of that?
Yeah, so it's whatever you want to put into it. For me, when I started up, it was just my street of 40 people, and all I did is said we'd had a few thefts from vehicles, and I said I want to do something about that. So I contacted Barrie Police, and I spoke with the police constable that at that time was overlooking the neighborhood watch program, and she gave me a few tips. And then I decided to have a meeting at my house, and she came and shared great information, valuable resources with our group. But to get those people engaged, I basically just printed up a flyer and went door to door. So, the cost was maybe 10 cents for paper and ink, and my time to knock on doors. And we had a good turnout, and the group has just grown since then. And it's very organic. A lot of people tell people about the group. I do send out a regular email. It's not always monthly, and it doesn't have to be. It can be Sometimes more frequently, if, for instance, we had a few incidents back to back to back, sometimes things happen in clusters. And so I was sending out more regular emails and newsletters during that time. And I use a really simple program that's called MailChimp. It's perfectly free and it's really, really easy to use. But even if all you do is just collect people's names, maybe phone numbers or maybe emails, just so you can send out quick alerts if something comes up, that's all it needs to be. Again, it's just a very organic, very easy process, and it doesn't need to cost you anything.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. If anyone has any questions about Neighborhood Watch, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my contacts in the comments and at the end of this interview, and we would love to get you started. And Sonia, is it possible, if anyone has any questions, that I can share some of your contact information for later?
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to start something up, by all means, contact you and you can put them in touch with me. I'm happy to help out.
Well, thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, truly.